Good morning, children. So, in the previous part of final accounts chapter, we discussed the meaning, objectives, items to be recorded, then the format of trading account and profit and loss account. So, in this part 2, we are going to discuss about balance sheet. So, as we have already discussed that final accounts basically includes trading account, profit and loss account and balance sheet. So, here we are starting with balance sheet. After ascertaining the net profit or net loss of the business enterprise, the businessman would also like to know the exact financial position of his business. That means what are his assets and how much is his liability. So, for this purpose, a statement is prepared which contains all the assets and liabilities of the business enterprise. And this statement is called a balance sheet, as it is a sheet of balances of ledger accounts which are still open after the transfer of all nominal accounts to your trading account and profit and loss account. So basically we can summarize and say that balance sheet is a statement which shows the financial position of the business. It is not an account, it is a statement which shows the ledger balances. Balances of all personal and real account are grouped as assets and liabilities. We have already discussed the types of accounts in the double entry system chapter, and in that chapter we have studied there are three types of account: personal, real and nominal. So nominal accounts are shown in trading account and profit and loss account, and all the personal and real account balances are classified or grouped into assets and liabilities, and liabilities are shown on the left hand side of the balance sheet and assets are shown on the right hand side of the balance sheet. Now the definition. According to J.R. Bartley Boy, a balance sheet is a statement prepared with a view to measure the exact financial position of a business on a certain fixed date. So this is the definition given by J.R. Bartley Boy. Now let us discuss the need and importance or objective of preparing a balance sheet. Number 1, to ascertain the true financial position of the business at a particular point of time. Since balance sheet is a statement, therefore it is prepared on a particular point, usually at the end of the accounting year. And therefore the objective is to know the true financial position of the business on a particular date. Secondly, to ascertain the nature and cost of various aspects of the business, such as the amount of closing stock, amount owing from debtors, amount of fictitious assets, etc. So basically to know the amount of various items: closing stock, debtors, creditors, fictitious assets, loans, capital, etc. So balance sheet is helpful in that. Point number 3, it helps in determining the nature and amount of various liabilities of the business, because it shows the various liabilities, so it helps the business to know the amount and the types of liability and the parties towards the business is liable to pay a certain sum of money. And point number 4, it gives information about the exact amount of capital at the end of the year, because we add net profit to capital, we deduct net loss from capital. So, and the addition or deduction made into it in the current year. So, therefore, what is the actual amount of capital, what is the amount of addition to the capital, and what is the amount of deduction from the capital, all that can be reflected by the balance sheet only. Now, drafting a balance sheet or preparation of a balance sheet. The characteristics of a balance sheet. Number 1, a balance sheet is a part of final accounts that we know. This is the reason that trading and profit and loss account and balance sheet are together called final accounts. However, the balance sheet is a statement and not an account, as we have already discussed, and therefore because it is not an account, it is a statement. Therefore we will not make any debit side or credit side, because debit or credit side is a part of an account, not a statement. And because we will not write any debit or credit side, therefore we will not use the word to or by before the names of the accounts to be written therein. Number 2, balance sheet is prepared on a particular date, as we have discussed, and not for a fixed period. Therefore we will not write balance sheet for the year ended. Rather we will write balance sheet as at, because it is prepared on a particular date. As such, it discloses the financial position of a business on a particular date and not for a period. Number 3, it shows the financial position of the business according to going concern concept. We have already discussed going concern concept, whereby we assume that the business will continue for a longer period of time, or basically an indefinite period of time, and therefore all the assets are recorded at their original cost minus depreciation, etc. So therefore it is said that balance sheet will be prepared according to the going concern concept. Point number 5, a balance sheet is a summary of the personal and real accounts, because nominal accounts will be shown in trading and profit and loss account. So in balance sheet we will show the personal and real account which are still open and have not been closed by transfer to the trading or profit and loss account, basically which have not been closed. Debit balances all personal and real accounts are put on the right hand side, that is the asset side, whereas the credit balances are put on the left hand side, that is known as the liability side. So any debit balance of any personal or real account will be shown on the asset side of the balance sheet, that is the right hand side, and any credit balance of the personal and real account will be shown on the liability side or the left hand side of the balance sheet. Number 5, the totals of the two sides of the balance sheet must be equal. The totals of the two side by side, that means the asset side should be equal to the liability side. If the totals are not equal, there will be an error somewhere. For example, in trading account and in profit and loss account, we learned that either the debit side will exceed the credit side, then it will be a loss, or the credit side will exceed the debit side, then it will be a profit. But in case of balance sheet, none of the sides exceed each other. Simply at the end of the balance sheet, if it is prepared correctly, then both the sides will automatically tally, automatically they will become equal, there will not be any difference. And if there is any difference, or if it is not tallying, that means you have mistaken somewhere. So these are the notes to remember basically while preparing the balance sheet. Now, grouping and marshalling of assets and liabilities in the balance sheet. These two words, grouping and marshalling, are very, very important. The assets and liabilities shown in the balance sheet are properly grouped, and grouped here basically means categorized, and presented in a particular order, which asset to show first, which liability to show first, etc. The term grouping means showing the items of similar nature under a common heading. For example, if we include bank loan, so bank loan will consist of all the amounts of loan from the bank. Here, for example, the amount owing from various customers will be shown under the heading sundry debtors. If Ram is my debtor, Shyam is my debtor, Rahul is my debtor, Raju is my debtor. So in the balance sheet, we will not write Raju, Ram, Rahul, Rajan. No. Ram, Shyam, no. We will just group them in one category, that is sundry debtors, means all debtors all together, and we will show the collective amount. Similarly, under the heading current asset, the balance of cash, bank, debtor, stock, etc. will be shown as a grouping together. This is known as grouping. Marshalling is the arrangement of various assets and liabilities in a proper order. Marshalling is what? It is the arrangement of various assets and liabilities in a proper order, and marshalling can be made in one of the following two ways. So there are basically two ways or two orders of marshalling. Number 1, in the order of liquidity. Liquidity means how easily can an asset or liability be converted into cash. So if the balance sheet is following the marshalling according to the order of liquidity, so in this case all the most liquid asset or the most liquid liability will be shown first, and the least liquid asset and the least liquid liability will be shown at the end. That means all those liabilities which have to be repaid soonest, within an year or even less than that, that will be shown first, and so on. And the last item will be the least, or you can say the amount of liability which has to be paid after a long time, for example capital. And in case of asset, all those assets which can be converted into cash within 1 year or less will be shown first, and all those assets which cannot be converted into cash within 1 year, it will be shown at the last. For example, fixed assets, as we have discussed in the basic terminology chapter. So according to this method, an asset which is most easily convertible into cash, such as cash in hand, is written first, and then will follow those assets which are comparatively less easily convertible, so that the least liquid assets such as goodwill is shown last. And in the same way, those liabilities which are to be paid at the earliest will be written first. In other words, current liabilities are written first of all, then non-current or long-term liabilities, and lastly the proprietor's capital. All these terms, long-term assets, long-term liabilities, we have already discussed in the basic terms. So this is first order of marshalling, that is order of liquidity. The second way is in the order of permanence. It is just the opposite of order of liquidity. In this case, the most permanent or fixed assets are shown first. That means those assets which cannot be converted into cash within 1 year are shown first, and the least those assets which can be converted into cash within a year or less are shown at the end. So therefore, when we are following the order of permanence, we will be showing the fixed assets first of all, and then the current asset. Similarly, in case of liability also, if we are following the order of permanence, the most fixed or non-current liability, for example capital, will be shown first, then the long-term loans, followed with the current liabilities. So under this method, assets which are most difficult to be converted into cash, such as goodwill, are written first, and assets which are most liquid, such as cash in hand, are written last. Similarly, those liabilities which are to be paid last will be written first. In other words, the proprietor's capital is written first of all, and then non-current or long-term liabilities, and lastly the current liabilities. Now, joint stock companies, basically the companies, are required under the Companies Act to prepare balance sheet in the order of permanence. So this is a rule laid down by the Companies Act, that a joint stock company needs to prepare it. It is mandatory for the joint stock company to follow the order of permanence. That means they will be showing the fixed assets and liabilities first, and then the current asset and current liabilities. So let us discuss the format of balance sheet. As you can see, we have to write the heading balance sheet, and just below the balance sheet we'll be writing as at. If you write for the year ending, it will be marked wrong and your marks will be deducted. So you have to write as at, whatever the end of the year or whenever you are preparing the balance sheet, the date has to be mentioned. For example, as at 31st March 2014, 16, like that. Then as you can see, on the left hand side we have written liabilities, and on the right hand side we have written asset. Since balance sheet is a statement and it is not an account, therefore there are no debit or the credit side. And since there are no debit or the credit side, it is not an account, therefore we are not using the word to or by. So on the liability side, you can see here basically we are showing the format on the basis of liquidity. When we are following order of permanence, it will just be reversed. So the liability side, you can see, first of all we are showing the current liabilities such as bank overdraft, bills payable, sundry creditors, outstanding expenses, unearned income. Unearned income means pre-received incomes. You have not done the work, you have not given the services, but you have received the income in advance. So all these are current liabilities. What are current liabilities? That we have already discussed in the basic terminology chapter. That is, current liabilities are those liabilities which are to be repaid within 1 year. Then we have also, in that chapter we have also discussed these words, these terms in detail. So kindly revise that chapter, children, basic terms chapter. Then the second category which we have shown is non-current liabilities. That means those liabilities which are to be paid after 1 year, for example long-term loans. And then we have shown the reserves, general reserve, your any kind of reserve fund, etc. Then capital, that is the amount invested, and to capital we will add net profit as transferred from profit and loss account. We will deduct drawings, personal expenses of the proprietor, income tax, life insurance premium. These three things will be deducted from capital. And yes, if the profit and loss account gives you net loss, not net profit, then in that case net loss will also be deducted. Then on the asset side, as you can see, first of all we have shown the current asset, cash in hand, cash at bank, bills receivable, short term investments, sundry debtors which are also known as book debts, closing stock, Prepaid expenses, accrued income. Accrued income means outstanding income. You have given the services but you have not received the payment as of now. Prepaid expenses means those expenses which you have paid in advance. So these are the current assets which are shown on the asset side. Current assets, basically, again we have already discussed these terms in the basic terms chapter. Current assets are those assets which can be converted into cash within 1 year. After that, we have shown non-current assets or fixed assets, means those assets which cannot be easily converted into cash within 1 year without any loss. For example, furniture, loose tools, motor vehicle, long-term investments, plant and machinery, land and buildings, patents and trademarks, goodwill. Patent and trademarks and goodwill, this also we have discussed while discussing the chapter double entry system. So as you can see, all the chapters are interrelated, therefore I keep on asking you to revise all the chapters which we have discussed till now. So this is the format of balance sheet. After putting all the assets and the liabilities, automatically your asset and the liability side should automatically tally. If it is not tallying, then it means you have mistaken somewhere. Now the notes which you need to remember about the balance sheet. Number 1, the words as at are used in the heading of the balance sheet because it is true only for the date on which it is prepared, because it is prepared on a particular date, therefore we will be writing as at. Number 2, the total of both the sides of the balance sheet, that is liability side and asset side, will be equal. And number 3, prepaid expenses are treated as current assets. Though cash cannot be realized from prepaid expenses, the service will be available against these without further payment. So because why prepaid expenses are called assets? No doubt it cannot be converted into cash because it is expenses paid in advance, but it is considered as an asset because yet the services are to be received. Now the difference between tangible assets and intangible assets. The first difference is on the basis of physical existence. So tangible assets have physical existence, means it can be seen and touched. For example, plant and machinery, furniture, etc. But intangible assets do not have physical existence. These cannot be seen or touched. For example, goodwill, patents, trademarks, etc. The second difference is on the basis of non-current versus current. So tangible assets can be non-current asset, for example, plant and machinery, furniture, or it can be current asset. For example, loose tools, motor vehicle, basically your these kind of current assets. Then intangible assets usually fall in the category of non-current assets like goodwill, patents, trademarks, etc. Then third difference is on the basis of depreciation or amortization. Depreciation we have already discussed in the basic terms chapter, that depreciation is the reduction in the value of fixed tangible assets, and when the value of fixed intangible assets reduce, that is known as amortization. So in case of tangible assets, depreciation is charged? No. In case of intangible assets, amortization is charged. So therefore we say that depreciation is charged on fixed tangible assets and intangible assets are amortized. And the last difference is on the basis of acceptance as security. So tangible assets, lenders accept tangible assets as security for providing loan, but lenders usually do not accept intangible assets as security for providing loan. So these are the differences between tangible assets and intangible assets. Now the difference between trial balance and balance sheet. The first difference is on the basis of object, that is the objective. So trial balance is prepared to check the arithmetical accuracy of the books of accounts, whereas balance sheet is prepared to know the true financial position of the business, that we have already discussed. Number 2, information about profit or loss. Trial balance, it is not possible to have information about net profit, net loss from a trial balance. Why? Because net profit, net loss is known from the profit and loss account, which is prepared after preparing the trial balance and trading account. But in case of balance sheet, since net profit or net loss is recorded in capital shown in the balance sheet, because net profit is added to the capital and net loss is deducted from the capital. So therefore it is possible to have the information about the net profit or net loss from a balance sheet. Point number 3, necessity. To trial balance, though desirable, its preparation is not necessary. but balance sheet is necessary to be prepared so as to know the financial position. It is a very important statement. Then headings. The headings of trial balance. There are two amounts column, that is debit and credit, and in case of balance sheet there are two amounts or two sides are known as assets and liabilities. So these are the differences between the trial balance and the balance sheet. Now there are certain points which you need to remember before preparing or starting with the practical problems relating to final accounts. These important points comprise of all the points related to preparation of trading account, profit and loss account, balance sheet, etc. So point number 1 says, if a trial balance is not given in the question, it is better to prepare a trial balance first of all. If there is a difference in the trial balance, the difference is placed to a suspense account and shown in the balance sheet. So in this case, it is saying that usually the trial balance will be given in the question, on the basis of which you need to prepare the trading account, profit and loss account and balance sheet. But if at all in any question trial balance is not given, then it is advisable for you to prepare a trial balance with the information given in the question. You put the debit items on the debit side and credit items on the credit side, and ultimately the debit and credit side should be equal. But if at all they are not equal, you will transfer the difference in the suspense account. If the debit side is falling short, you will transfer the suspense account balance on the debit side. If the credit side is falling short, you will transfer the balance to the credit side in the suspense account, and whatever the balance is, that will be shown in the balance sheet. If it is a debit balance of suspense account, asset side of balance sheet. If it is a credit balance of suspense account, it will be shown on the liability side of the balance sheet. Point number 2, it should be remembered that all items which appear in the trial balance should be shown only once, whereas items which appear outside the trial balance, known as adjustments, have to be shown at two places. Very important point. All the items which are shown inside the trial balance, they are assumed to have been adjusted and will be shown in one place, whereas those items which are transferred or which are shown outside the trial balance, they are assumed yet to be adjusted. They are known as adjustments because they are lying outside the trial balance, and therefore they will be shown at least two places. And this is the reason why we have already discussed in the part 1 that if closing stock is given inside the trial balance, then it will be shown only and only on the asset side of the balance sheet. But if the closing stock is given outside the trial balance, then it will be shown at two places, firstly on the credit side of the trading account, and secondly on the asset side of the balance sheet. Point number 3, the items which appear on the debit side of the trial balance should be shown either on the debit side of trading account or profit and loss account, or on the asset side of the balance sheet. Very easy point. All those items which are shown on the debit side of the trial balance, if they are direct expenses, they will be shown, or if they are direct expenses or they are stocks, opening stock, that will be shown on the debit side of the trading account. If those debit items are indirect expenses or losses, that will be shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account. And if those debit sides or debit items are any personal or real account, then that will be shown on the asset side of the balance sheet. Similarly, point number 4, the items which appear on the credit side of the trial balance should be shown either on the credit side of the trading account or profit and loss account, or on the liability side of the balance sheet. So all the credit items of the trial balance, if they are direct income or closing stock, that will be shown. Basically, if they are direct incomes, that will be shown on the credit side of the trading account, for example sale. If there are indirect incomes or gains, that will be shown on the credit side of profit and loss account. And if the credit items are of personal account or real account, then that will be shown on the liability side of the balance sheet. Point number 5, all accounts related to goods such as purchases, sales, purchase returns and sales return are written in the trading account. In addition to these, the trading account will also be debited with all expenses which are directly related to either purchase or manufacturing of goods. All the remaining expenses of the balances of the nominal accounts are shown in the profit and loss accounts. This we have already discussed in part 1 also, that all those accounts which are related to goods, for example purchase return, sales return, then opening stock, closing stock, all these will be shown in the trading account. And also all the direct expenses, for example freight inward, carriage inward, wages, octroi, dock charges, etc., will be shown on the debit side of the trading account. Whereas all the remaining expenses obviously means the indirect expenses which are related to nominal account will be shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account. Point number 6, the balances of personal and real accounts are always shown in the balance sheet, that we have discussed in this part of the video itself, that all the personal and real account balances will be shown in the balance sheet. If they are having the debit balances, then it will be shown on the asset side, because assets carry a debit balance, that we have discussed in the double entry system chapter. And if the personal and real accounts are carrying a credit balance, then it will be shown on the liability side of the balance sheet, because liabilities carry a credit balance. Then point number 7, if the expenses in respect of rent and lighting are clearly stated as having been incurred in respect of factory, these will be shown in the trading account, otherwise this will be shown in the profit and loss account. That means office rent, office lighting will be a part of debit side of profit and loss account. Factory rent and factory lighting will be a part of debit side of trading account, or the assumption of direct expense. But if no word as office or factory is mentioned, only the word rent or lighting is mentioned, then we will assume it to be related to office and will be shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account. For example, if factory rent is given in the question, it will be shown in the trading account. Instead, if rent is given, it will be shown in profit and loss account. Point number 8, if a trial balance is not given in the question and it is not clearly stated whether a particular item is expense or income, it will be treated as an expense, such as discount, commission, brokerage or rent, etc. Very easy point. If discount allowed is given, it will be treated as an expense and will be put on the debit side of the profit and loss account. If commission paid is given, brokerage paid is given, rent paid is given, interest paid is given, etc., that means it is clearly stating that these are paid and these are expenses, and therefore they will be put on the debit side of the profit and loss account. But and if it is given as received, discount received, commission received, brokerage received, rent received, dividend received, interest received, then these will be treated as an indirect income and will be shown on the credit side of profit and loss account. Also, if their debit balances is mentioned specifically that these are carrying debit balances, then it will be shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account, assuming these to be expenses, since expenses carry a debit balance. But if specifically it is given that these are carrying credit balance, then it will be assumed that these are an income, because incomes carry a credit balance. These will be shown on the credit side of the profit and loss account. But in the absence of any information in the question, if no debit or credit is given in the question regarding these items, or not even the word paid or received is given, then in that case, in the absence of any information, we will assume it to be an expense and will show it on the debit side of the profit and loss account. For example, if only the word discount is given, not neither allowed nor received is given, then we will assume it to be allowed and show it on the debit side of the profit and loss account. Then the ninth point that we have already discussed, that the total of both side of the balance sheet, that is asset and liabilities, will always be equal. So these are the points which you need to remember while preparing the final accounts. Now there are few formulas which you need to know. This I have included in these points itself. Point number 10, whenever the amount of cost is given in the question and the profit is to be calculated on cost, for example cost is given 50,000 and the question says that the gross profit will be 10% of the cost is given and the profit is to be calculated on the cost only, then it is very simple. You will apply the formula cost into rate, means whatever the percent, 20%, 30%, whatever is given, rate upon 100. So we know 30% means what? Percent means 30 upon 100. So similarly here, whenever the amount of cost is given in the question and the profit is to be calculated on cost, it is very easy to apply the formula. We will apply the formula cost into rate upon 100. On the other hand, point number 11, Whenever the amount of sales is given in the question, no cost is given, and the profit is to be calculated on sales, then again following formula will be applied. Instead of cost, we will calculate it on sales because we have the amount of sales. So we will apply the formula sales multiplied by rate upon 100. For example, if sales is 40%, 40,000, and profit is 20%, so 40,000 into 20 upon 100. Then point number 12, now the trick comes. Whenever the amount of cost is given in the question but the profit is to be calculated on sales, the following formula will be applied. Cost is given but you have to calculate the profit on the sales. Since you don't have the sales, you have to calculate profit on cost, but the questions asks you to calculate the profit on sales. Then in that case, the formula will be cost multiplied by rate upon 100 minus rate. For example, if the cost is 20,000 and if the rate of profit on sales is given as 20%, then you will apply the formula 20,000, that is cost, into rate, that is 20, upon 100 minus rate. 100 minus 20 means 80. Then your formula would look like 20,000 into 20 upon 80. Just like this, point number 13, whenever the amount of sales is given in the question but the profit is to be calculated on cost, the following formula will be applied. Now in this question, or in this case, sales is given to you but profit is to be calculated on cost. So in this case, rather than deducting the rate, you will add the rate to 100. Then the formula would become basically, so whenever the amount of sales is given in the question, as we were discussing, but the profit is to be calculated on cost, then the following formula will be applied. In this case, we will apply the formula sales multiplied by rate upon 100 plus rate. That means, for example, if the amount of sales given in the question is 20,000 and if the profit is to be calculated on cost is 10%, so in that case your formula will become 20,000 of sales multiplied by the rate, that is 10, upon 100 plus rate, that means 100 plus 10, that is 110. So in that case the formula will become 20,000 into 10 upon 100 plus 10. So this is the formula which you need to remember. These four formulas are very, very important because sometimes the short questions are asked on this basis as well. So I hope the topics which are discussed in this video are clear to you children. Kindly go through the video, especially part 1 and part 2 both, because then only you can remember the format and you can make out which item will be going where, what are the rules, and especially these 13 points specially you need to keep into your mind while preparing the final accounts. And also you need to remember the differences and the indirect expenses, direct expenses, etc. So this is the assignment. Based on this part, you have to answer the following questions in your register. Question number 1, what are the objects or objectives of preparing a balance sheet? You need to write any two. You can write that balance sheet is prepared to know the financial position of the business. Balance sheet is prepared to know the exact amount of capital, etc. Question number 2, you have to write the various assets in order of liquidity in the balance sheet. So you have to write the various assets in order of liquidity. So obviously you can write a number of current assets first. For example, your cash balance, your bank balance, your debtors, your short-term investments, your closing stock, prepaid expense, etc. And then the non-current asset or fixed assets such as land, building, plant and machinery, etc. Question number 3, you have to write the various liabilities in order of liquidity in the balance sheet. So that means in this you have to write, first of all you have to write the liabilities which can be converted into cash, or basically which are to be repaid within 1 year. That means current liabilities first and then the non-current liabilities. So you can write first of all bank overdraft, bills payable, sundry creditors, outstanding expenses, unearned income. Then you can write long-term loans, reserves, capital, etc. Then question number 4, when assets are listed in order of the liquidity in the balance sheet, that means current asset we are showing first and then the fixed asset, which should be listed first, building or cash in hand? Obviously cash in hand, because cash in hand is a liquid asset as compared to the building. Then question number 5, mention 4 items of current assets and 2 items of current liabilities. So 4 items of current assets can be cash in hand, cash at bank, bills receivable, short term investment. Also you can write prepaid expenses, outstanding income, closing stock. You can choose any 4. And then 2 items of current liabilities, you can choose among bank overdraft, bills payable, pre-received income, outstanding expenses, sundry creditors, etc. Then question number 5, distinguish between tangible asset and intangible asset. You can write any 2 differences. We have discussed 4, you need to write any 2. For example, you can write first of all, on the basis of physical existence, tangible assets can be seen and touched, intangible assets cannot be seen and touched. Then you can write on the basis whether the loan can be procured or not. So tangible assets, the banks or the lenders can give loans on keeping tangible asset as security, but lenders do not provide loan on the basis of keeping intangible assets as the security. Then question number 7, distinguish between a balance sheet and a trial balance. You can write any 2 differences. For example, a balance sheet is prepared to know the financial position of the business. A trial balance is prepared to check the arithmetical accuracy of the accounts. Then balance sheet have assets and liabilities column, trial balance has debit and credit column, etc. Then question number 8, when the liabilities are listed in order of liquidity in a balance sheet, that means current liabilities are shown first. Which should be listed first, capital or creditors? Obviously creditors, because these are current liabilities. Then question number 9, write the various assets in order of permanence in a balance sheet. That means fixed assets are to be shown first and then the current assets. So you can write furniture, loose tools, motor vehicle, long-term investment, plant and machinery, land and building, patents and trademark, goodwill, etc. first, and then you can write current asset, cash in hand, cash at bank, bills receivable, sundry debtors, prepaid expenses, closing stock, etc. Then the next question number 11, or basically first of all let us discuss question number 10. Write the various liabilities in order of permanence in a balance sheet. That means the fixed liabilities are to be shown first and current liabilities to be shown later. So here fixed liabilities, first of all you can write as capital, then reserves, then long term loans, and then you can write the current liabilities such as bank overdraft, bills payable, sundry creditors, outstanding expenses, earned income, etc. Then question number 11, what do you understand by the terms grouping and marshalling in connection with the balance sheet? So the term grouping means categorizing or grouping the similar nature items into one category. For example, categorizing or grouping all the debtors under one category such as sundry debtors. And marshalling means arranging the assets and liabilities in order of liquidity or in order of permanence. Then question number 12, illustrate the different forms of marshalling of assets and liabilities. So in this you have to explain the order of liquidity and order of permanence. You have to explain that while following the order of liquidity, those assets and liabilities which are of current nature, which can be converted into cash within 1 year or which are to be repaid within 1 year, are shown first, and then the fixed assets or fixed liabilities. On the other hand, when we are following the order of permanence, all those fixed assets which can be converted into cash after 1 year, and also all those fixed liabilities which are to be repaid after 1 year, are to be shown first, and all the current assets and current liabilities are to be shown later. Then question number 13, you have to prepare a format of balance sheet. So the format of balance sheet which we have discussed here, you have to prepare that. You can also take the help of your book. You can prepare this format of balance sheet as a part of your answer. So these are the questions and answers which you need to complete in your copies, children. Go through it once again, part 1, part 2 both. Revise all the points carefully. Try to remember the format, differences, everything, and complete all the written work which is given to you, children. And in the upcoming video, we will be discussing few of the practical questions on the basis of these two videos which we have discussed. Thank you, children. Take care.